listeners because I actually...
Alrighty, everyone.
I'm sorry.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. I called Wilson, and unfortunately, he's unable to make it. And John Sweeney did not pick up the phone, and so we're just going to get started without those two.
Oh, no.
My name is Devin Lofton, and I will be your moderator today. I am the chair of the Oregon High School Democrats at Precinct 759. Each candidate will get 1 minute to give an intro about themselves. And then we'll move on to questions. Michael Trimble, you'll go ahead and go first.
Thank you, Devin, for moderating this today. I really appreciate it for your leadership at the high school level. My name is Michael Trimble. I'm running for governor as a Democrat, obviously. I don't have any arms. I've been fighting for my life and rights from day one. What I want to do, as Patrick John just mentioned, is fight for rent control, make sure these rent increases are canceled out. I want to make sure that affordable housing is truly affordable. I want to expand Oregon Health Plan to all Oregonians to make sure that everybody has truly affordable universal health care access. I want to make sure that, Devin, are you there? We just lost. Okay, hello? Am I still on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I'll continue with my rent then. Anyways, OHB for all, lowering rents. I also want to declare the addiction crisis an emergency on day one and create a director that will merge all of the various agencies and governmental programs to be able to address addiction. It is a huge, huge crisis, and we have got to get under control, and I will take charge. And I know I've said this before, but I will be the only governor in American history you'll never catch sitting on his hands doing nothing. Devin, I want to be respectful of my 1 minute and not take advantage of the technical, oops, I did it again.
Well, maybe Keisha should go. Coach K.
Oh, hi, Coach K. Nice to meet you finally.
Hi, how are you doing, Michael?
Gubernatorial-astic, as they say.
All right. Coach K, and I'm also a candidate running for governor, and I am interested in the voters seeing my Good Stewardship platform campaign. It's involving environmental justice. It also is going towards the green lifestyle, more eco-friendly communities and humanitarian opportunities for aiding and building communities. I am interested in building the parks and recs and national parks through urban rangers and park rangers, increasing opportunities with apprenticeship programs for entrepreneurship and business ownership, increasing opportunities in labor equality, wage equality. I'm interested in decreasing, if not eliminating, the school-to-prison pipeline. I'm also interested in providing universal care that is effective and efficient. I'm interested in...
I'm so sorry, but the 1 minute is up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Patrick Stearns, why don't you go ahead?
First of all, I'd like to recognize that we are living on stolen lands from indigenous peoples that have been here for thousands of years. Behind me is the Calapooya River that runs into the Willamette at Albany. I'm in my little village of Brownsville, which is a half hour north of Eugene. And I'm going to be talking about campaign finance reform, Salem, healthcare for all, OHP for all, housing for all, and also climate justice, like Kate was talking about. So you can see under my name on my webpage, so you can pull that up and follow along if you want to pull up my platform. My wife and I restore old houses that have been abandoned. A couple of them were over 6 years they've been abandoned, and that's what brought us to Brownsville. We just finished a project that was 1872. So I could say I'm the only governor candidate who's provided new housing for folks, and I look forward to doing that because we have over 15,000.
Patrick, I'm sorry, but your 1 minute is up.
Okay, over 15,000 Oregonians without any housing.
So, the first topic, I forgot to mention, questions will be based off of the most popular question that came out from the surveyed 675 high school students. So the first question so now we'll go in the order of Michael Trimble, Coach K, and Patrick Starnes. And the first question is climate change. It's a big issue nationwide, globally, and especially in Oregon. So what will you do to combat climate change in the state of Oregon if you were elected governor?
Yes, obviously I will be ending tree logging as we know it. There is no reason why in 2022 and on we should be logging trees. We need to be having better forest management to control these fires that have completely swept out of control and destroyed so many lives. Where I'm unpopular is that I don't believe people should be living in areas that are prone to fires. Rebuilding their homes as fire season after fire season is just endless, counterproductive, and not a good spending of taxpayer dollars. We need to leave certain areas of Mother Nature to Mother Nature. And the way that I want to help with better forest management is actually by using the prison state population inmate to be able to get a good trade, be able to get out there and actually be productive. And this way, when they do are released, they're able to have some job skills on there. Also, I want to introduce a carbon tax. I want to make sure that all cars in Oregon by 2030, not 2035, because we don't have a planet B, we have only a planet Earth. And so by 2030, we are going to make sure that all cars are electric/hydrogen. Obviously, that is going to be a very expensive endeavor, and we will need federal government assistance.
There's no way everybody can afford those cars.
Yes, I am very well aware of that, yes. And that's why there's going to have to be a lot of subsidies, tax breaks, the federal government has to step in. And fortunately, Joe Biden has actually been very pro-environment, and he has shown he's not afraid to spend trillions of dollars. And so we need to do the same thing with the economy, spend as much money as possible. I also want to impose an out-of-state carbon tax for all those who are driving non-electric, non-hydrogen cars. We need to actually start investing in hydrogen because that's the technology that is around, but a lot of people don't know about it. I mean, electric is fine, but what people don't know is that electric cars, to produce them and create them, is a very, very dirty process. And so we need to, look into how, all these things are made. And we also need to make sure that people have sustainable, clean drinking water. Because I know a lot of areas in rural Oregon don't have access to clean water because of either EPA regulation or because of state regulations. People have a right to drinking water, and that's fresh, clean, and free of toxins. I support President Biden in making sure all of our pipes are lead-free. I know Oregon has quite a huge infrastructure of it. I know that's not exactly environmental, but still, having access to clean drinking water is going to be paramount. And you are, sir? What is your name, sir? With the Patagonia hat. I love it.
Alrighty, so the next.
Hi.
So, Coach K, you can go ahead and answer the question on climate change.
My good stewardship plan is involving interaction with the indigenous populations to increase our knowledge on taking care of Earth, the planet. Human interaction is very important in how the climate is going to increase or decrease or affect us. So we need to change our values and our practices, including opportunities of modernization, helping people understand that virtual operations is important to decreasing the way we damage and degrade our environment. That's one of the biggest issues is the way we interact with our environment. Environmental justice is very important. Thank you.
How much time do we have, Devin, on these questions? Because I'm going to talk about two things real quick, if we have time. The first is a carbon revenue, and the second is wildfires and droughts and Senate Bill 762. So if you're able to look that up, you can follow along about that. So since I'm a history major, I'll take you back to 1919. Oregon was the first to have a gas tax in the country. You can imagine Standard Oil did not like that idea, but now it's coast to coast. Almost every state has a gas tax that pays for roads. But in Oregon, it still is in the Oregon Constitution, our gas tax. And originally it went for roads, state parks, and state troopers. But in the Reagan era, a special interest group passed Measure Number 1 in 1980 that restricted the gas tax to only go to build more freeways and to build more roads. So that's why we have that pressure in Portland to expand the freeways and tear down schools, which I oppose, along with the Youth for ODOT. So what I would do as governor is I would use the bully pulpit to amend the Constitution so we could have the freedom, local communities would have the freedom to use their gas tax to do more in their public transit. In the Tri-Met area is the highest percentage of our carbon footprint is 42% of their footprint is through transportation. And they have a great bus system, but they need more support for that. And that's what this carbon revenue can do. It can make those the MAX system and the bus system faster, free, and frequent. And we have really good examples of a free transit system at OSU in Corvallis, which not only helps the students who are living on low wages, but also seniors and other families, low-income families, not only get to work, but to also get to health appointments and also outside of a food desert. Where I live here in Brownsville is an example of a food desert and also a transportation desert. We have it's a half hour to any direction for a real grocery store with fresh, affordable food, and we have no transit system here. So this is an example across the state when I travel all 36 counties that you see that it's just a disconnected system. There's some portions along the coast that have no transit. So we can do better since more than a third of our carbon footprint is in transportation. Now, if I have a little bit of time to talk about the wildfire bill, Senate 762, what's important about that is it creates a new department of Oregon Conservation Corps, which reminds you of the old CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. And what that does, it goes into our forests or around your cabin and protects your cabin by thinning the smaller non-commercial wood products out from under the forest floor. Because we want to protect our big old growth, because the science is now showing that the old trees are the ones that really store carbon.
I'll let you finish that sentence, but you're out of time.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we're done with the climate change. Would anyone like to comment on someone's climate change platform?
Yes, I actually also am for free public transit that runs 24/7. We cannot encourage people to dump their cars if they have nowhere to go, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning. Especially mental health crises and those emergencies. They happen at all hours of the day, a lot of times during nighttime. And if there's no public transit, how are they supposed to get there? And a lot of these behavioral health units are very far away. And again, with public transit, we can basically save the environment because, like Patrick said, transportation is huge. We need to start really cutting down on all of these highways. I know there's a lot of expansions, like there's the Rhodes Park expansion. As governor, I will end that in my first day because we need to start pushing for bikes, walking, scooters, scooters, environmentally friendly modes of transportation to really save the environment. And I support Patrick and everything he's doing, and I can clearly have a similar comment like him.
I'd just like to add that transportation is not just about climate change. It's about poverty, too.
Yes.
And it's one of the largest portions of a working family's budget, besides rent and food, transportation, because you have the insurance, you have the fuel, you have the maintenance. So if we have a faster, free, and frequent system, there'll be no need for some communities to have as many cars as they do.
Oh my goodness, cities in Europe are already doing it. There are cities in Europe where their trains are faster than Amtrak, and they cost way, way less. I know I read an article, there's a city in Germany, its entire train fleet is operated by wind power. I mean, it can be done where there is a will, there is an environmental way.
But we have to get big money out of politics first, or we'll still have the fossil fuel money supporting the Republican walkout. So that's why that's our first 100 days.
And not just the Republican walkout, Patrick, but also there are a lot of Democrats who say they're progressive, but they have not pushed for the environment. You know, Tina Kotek, prime example, Speaker of the House for 9 years. Why wasn't Oregon the forefront leader in paving the environment? She did some good stuff, don't get me wrong, but she was not as progressive and pushing the envelope like she should have been with a super majority of Democrats in both branches of the state government.
Coach K, would you like to comment on any of the candidates' platform?
I think that both candidates seem very eco-friendly. Environmental justice, as I said before, is very important. I do agree with them that poverty is another issue, social issue for environmental justice because they're underrepresented, underprivileged, and so a lot of dumping grounds are in their communities from toxic waste, chemical waste, and I think we all can agree that if a candidate is, when selected, they should follow through what they say they're going to do and not just have a conversation and have more people at the table to make sure it's implemented. Thank you.
The next question on the docket will be housing. Housing is an extreme issue in the state of Oregon and other states. During Governor Brown's debate session with Newt Bueller, she said that she would ease housing issues and do her best to do better for the houselessness in the state of Oregon. Unfortunately, it is much worse than it was in 2018. So, Michael Trimble, how will you help the houselessness population in the state of Oregon?
Oh, my goodness. After expanding Oregon Health Plan to all, housing is my next biggest issue. What I want to do in my first 100 days is lower rents for all middle-income to low-income people by at least $100 in my first 100 days. If I have to issue eviction moratoriums, state of emergencies, I will do it. The state legislature has shown they are not that gung-ho to help renters, and they've been dragging their feet, and I will use all the executive power I have. And then what I want to do is work with the city legislature to formulate a plan where ultimately you only pay 30% of your income in rent. That is it. I want to make rent like any other bill. It's annoying, it's a hassle, it's a hag, but it is not the end of the world. It doesn't kill your bank. I've spoken to so many people, Devin, who are paying 50, 60, 70, 80, even 90% of their income in rent. And a lot of these people are on Social Security, disability, Social Security. They are in subsidized housing, but it's still a huge chunk of the rent. And that is just unforgivable and criminal. There are way too many apartments that are vacant, my building included, Portland Towers. And I spoke with the manager saying, why won't you lower the rent? And he said he would rather the units go vacant than offer them at below market rates. That, again, is criminal and unforgivable. I know Patrick has proposed a vacancy fee, which I do support, but we need housing now. We can't afford for the money to roll in. And so what I will do is using eminent domain, if there is a vacancy longer than 45 days, the state government will step in, take over that unit, and give it to somebody who has been on the waiting list. I want to eliminate all rental application fees because looking for an apartment, moving into an apartment is difficult, but actually looking for one is just as expensive. $45 an application, that goes a long way, especially if you're on limited income. If you're a student, if you are on limited income with Medicare and whatnot, it goes a long way. And so I want to eliminate all of those. Those will all be done by the state because I know a lot of that fee goes to processing attendance and whatnot. I want to make sure that all pets live rent-free. There will be no more pet security deposits, no more pet rental fees. Pets have been shown to be scientifically amazing for tenants. They reduce stress, they provide company, they are phenomenal. I want to ban all non-refundable administration fees. When I was looking to move into Washington last year, there was a fee for $300 non-refundable. And I asked the lady, well, why are you charging me that? And she said, oh, just something we charge. Like, no, you're not just going to charge something just because you can charge it. Again, I'm going to be the most pro-housing advocate this, not just the state, but this country has seen in decades, because housing is a human right. It is not a luxury. It is not a privilege. I myself live in a 350 square foot studio.
Michael?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but your 3 minutes is up.
Okay. Thank you, Devin.
Coach Kay, what will you do for the houselessness population in the state of Oregon?
Yes, thank you, Devin. I have a split stewardship platform, as I said before, that includes housing equality. The thing about housing is that we have a disproportionate use of distribution of capital and resources. I would like to change that. I would like to create a universal system where housing is part of like a Maslow principle. It's part of the basics of a human right, and provide all the properties that are not in use, abandoned or degraded, restore them, and put opportunities to make campuses that are futuristic, modernization, smart technologies that allow poverty-stricken communities, homelessness, anyone that have been dislocated or rejected in society to have a equal opportunity to live in an eco-friendly, green lifestyle choice community without cost. I would like to change tax exemption for the state to create more opportunities for resources to be used in giving pledges, giving the opportunity so people can give back and pay it forward. Thank you.
And Patrick, what is your... Go ahead.
Well, I want to thank all the high school students for asking these great questions. The climate change question was crucial for their future. And now, once you get it ready to graduate, you're going to have to deal with the housing crisis here in Oregon, along with all of us. One thing I want to point out is that Oregon's in a unique situation where we have 40,000 new Oregonians arriving every year. So 10% every census. So that's a pressure that's on our housing that creates more scarcity. But to deal with your question about the unhoused, which is over 15,000 Oregonians unhoused, and to answer Joseph's question, we need to have an Oregon shelter fund that's outside the general fund, because we can't depend on the legislative session, to go through the general fund and fight and bicker over that, and then get to the housing situation and not have any money. So the Oregon Shelter Fund is separate from the general fund, and it's funded by a vacancy fee. Since my wife and I restore old abandoned houses, I've seen all across the state these abandoned houses, and so we would base this on the square footage. Of course, this has to be developed by the legislature, but I would be the bully pulpit and build the table, a bipartisan table, to get that support for building this new housing. We have state lands where we could possibly build eco villages that somebody needs a mute. We could build these eco villages that Coach K was talking about. Can we?
Trimble, could you please mute? Trimble?
Yes, hold on.
And so, besides the unhoused crisis of having no homes whatsoever, we also have a crisis with working families in high tourist areas, especially along the coast, because we have a lot of Airbnb properties and $1 million mansions that are second homes. We need to focus on developing these working family homes through the Oregon Shelter Fund that help these people that change the beds at the Airbnbs pump our gas and work in restaurants in these tourist areas. You see the same problem up by the ski slopes in the Cascades. So we have a lot to do, and I'm going to bring my tool belt, and I look forward to swinging my hammer like Jimmy Carter to build more housing and permanent housing. That's another part of this. And when you talk about the vacancy fee, it's also on abandoned commercial properties, because in Roseburg, we had a store, an old Safeway that was abandoned for over 10 years. That could have, at that whole time, it could have served as shelter services, where it was a warming center, have showers, laundry, and a safe storage place for people. And we see this across the state, that the communities are doing their best, and there's strong nonprofits, there's strong county support and city support, but the state has been a weak partner. And that's why we need the Oregon Shelter Fund, so that we can be a real partner with the federal dollars and the local dollars. Otherwise, it's been our bad. And I would argue that the top two big $1 million candidates have been there for 15 years.
Patrick, I'm sorry, but your 3 minutes is up. So next on the docket is LGBTQ plus rights, protections, and expansion. In the state of Oregon, although we're very liberal, we only rank number 4 for the most LGBTQ plus friendly state. So what would you do as governor to expand and protect the rights of LGBTQ plus citizens?
Well,
Michael Trimble, you'll go.
okay. Well, what I would do is actually codify all of the decisions that have come out of the Supreme Court to make sure that a fascist right-wing court does not overturn and repeal all of the rights that we have fought so hard for. So if they do, then it's going to be the law of the land. I am also myself a gay immigrant. I was adopted and it came in 1992. And so my parents weren't exactly happy with me being gay, and they sent me to Christian boarding schools to try to convert me. Obviously, as you can see, I am still very much happy. And so I've been, part of the population.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Barnes, can you mute your mic? I'm getting background.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Am I free to go? Yeah, there is a lot of interference. Yes. Okay, yes. And so I'm part of the population that's been in these gay conversion schools, and obviously. What was that?
Could you please keep your feet off the screen? It's very disturbing.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, well, I'm gesticulating, as they say, But yes, I'll try my best. Anyways, though, and what I want to do is, I'm part of the population that has experienced the gay conversion schools. They don't work, and so we'll be codifying them. I also want to make sure that LGBTQ have the same access that everybody else has. I want to be proactive in making sure that we hire as many LGBTQ people as possible to make sure that they are represented in state government. I will make sure that all trans are respected, and we will have them in there. And just basically, I'm very, very pro-LGBTQ friendly. I've hung out with a lot of different agencies and organizations, and I know that Tina Kotek is also gay herself, but she hasn't really done a whole lot for the LGBTQ movement. And again, Speaker of the House for 9 years, and why hasn't she been more advanced and progressive on LGBTQ issues, considering she herself is LGBTQ? And so I will just, I won't just talk the talk. I will run the pride flag walk, as they say.
All right, Coach K, go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate this opportunity. I would like to start. I saw a question real quick. I just want to deviate off a little bit. It said, where are you going to get all this money with the ideas? Usually with visionary, with implementation plans, you learn how to do distribution better using equality mathematics. A lot of this funding has been exploited and has been directed improperly, inaccurately. My goal is to go in there, fine tooth it, and create opportunities that have been blocked. There's a lot of funding that is not being used at all for the appreciation of the communities. So to answer your question is to have a better distribution center for every funding we have that's given in the budget of Oregon. Now to the LGBTQ communities, equality and human rights opportunity is basic needs assessment for needs and motivation. That will be a requirement as government to make sure all Oregonians is treated equally and fairly. So I would push the agenda to make sure human rights is given to everyone and the opportunities of civilities and opportunities civil rights as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Starnes, go ahead. I'm sorry, you're muted.
Thanks for that reminder. Unfortunately, the recent president, number 45, who his name will not be spoken, has legalized bullying. And so one of the first things I want to do in my first 100 days is to set up a bullying task force, because we are getting hundreds of our trans youth and other youth bullied in high schools, as Devin probably knows, and maybe that's part of where this question comes from. So that's in the first 100 days, and also we need to have our queer businesses be minority businesses. They need to have that status, just like other minority groups enjoy the status of a minority business. So I would codify that, just like Mr. Trimble was saying. And back to my other campaign issues, which are campaign finance reform, healthcare, and housing. Those groups are the ones that suffer the most. All minorities, the BIPOC population, suffer from these big donations that they can't match. They suffer from the largest percentage of those that I was talking about that are unhoused. And also, we have almost 300,000 Oregonians who have no health insurance, and that's more than 50% is our queer and people of color who have no health insurance. So my platform addresses all these concerns that affect all of us who are struggling to make it. Thanks for the question.
Absolutely. So the next question on the docket is campaign finance reform. So under your administration, if you were elected governor, do you believe campaign finance reform should be established in Oregon, and what would campaign finance reform look like under your administration? Michael Trimble, go ahead.
Oh my God! Yes, and yes. I hate to be a plagiarist, but basically I'm going to take a lot of the campaign finance reform for as governor from actual Patrick Starnes, because he has amazing ideas. I want to limit contributions to $1,000. Obviously, you can't stop Super one from spending, but you can definitely officially decline it. I also want to introduce what I call campaign media reform. As we were talking before the debate began, requiring KT News was requiring $750,000 raised to even join the debate. The City of Portland Club, $500,000. All these strings being attached to how much money you raise. The state constitution says to run for governor, you have to be 35 years of age and have at least 3 years of residency, which Christoph found out the very hard way. He thought he could use his big money and buy his way into the election, while sponsors of the state Supreme Court said, not so fast, Mr. Christoph, go back and write a book. But back to campaign finance reform, though. I want to make sure that everything is recorded, and Orastar does do a very good job of recording everything, but we want to make sure that all finances are,
Excuse me, Starnes, can you please quit rolling your eyes at Trimble? This is good takes.
Can he stop rolling his eyes? Joseph, please keep your mic off.
It was, but okay.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, because I would think Patrick Starnes would appreciate me basically stealing his campaign finance reform platform, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, though, and so the other thing I want to do is make sure that over 60% of any contributions for any office sought in state or Oregon, it comes from the state. This notion of all of these huge oil companies and dirty fossil fuels that have contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars into Tobias Reed campaign is unforgivable and unconscionable. Oregon residents need to be contributing, not out-of-state players. And so we want to make sure that campaign finance, and I will be introducing it in my first 100 days, if need be, to give protection to the legislators who are too afraid to vote for this. I will close the session to make sure that this does get done. Kate Brown said that she was all for campaign finance reform. Well, she's been in office for almost 7 years, and where is the campaign finance reform? They all like to talk, but they never do anything, because at the end of the day, they all benefit from this wild, wild west campaign, it's just ridiculous, and we got to make sure that, like Patrick said, we take money out of pocket. And what I also want to do is pass a law that essentially repeals Citizens versus United. If Texas and Idaho can pass laws that essentially overturn Roe v. Wade, why can't we do the same thing but with campaign finance reform? I mean, like, again, if there is a will, there is a way, and we have got to get this, because as long as big money is in politics, nothing will ever get done. Electing the same tired politicians and expecting different results, it's not working. And so we have got to get big money out, and so we will be limiting all contributions. Everything will be public, and 60% of all contributions for any state election, this also includes city campaigns too, has to be in state, not out of state. Let Oregonians decide elections, not out of state big PACs. Same thing with unions. I don't think unions should be contributing to candidates trying to buy their influence. Let the people
I'm so
decide.
sorry, but the 2 minutes is up.
It's okay. I kind of figured it was.
Thank you.
I'll mute.
Coach K, go ahead.
Thank you, Ted. I am interested in building my good stewardship platform to reform or to build new systems. The reason why is because our system has failed us over the years, and we've done our best to work with it, work through it. And I think at this time, we should have the opportunity to start building anew. I am interested in building new systems that work beside the legislation to create financial transparency, to show the equality, to show the opportunities for eco-friendliness, as well as build the financial base with each other through resource sharing and not capitalizing off of each other. Increasing the opportunities to build laws. We already have over 3,000 laws, and it's not working. I think the legal system and the laws are ineffective and defective and dysfunctional. So I will be going in a different direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Starnes, go ahead.
I ran on this topic in 2018, and then at the last week before the election was over, I endorsed Governor Brown, who did help make the constitutional amendment. And what we had to do in 2019 is go door to door to get the legislature, all 90 members, to refer it to the voters, which they did, with only 5 votes against it. And so that was important, because then we'd have to gather all the signatures. And the legislature can amend the Constitution, but they can refer it to the voters. And that was Measure 107, which was knocked out of the ballpark with 78%. So almost 80% of Oregonians across the state supported campaign finance reform. And the lowest was Lake County in eastern Oregon with 60%. And any candidate would love to have 60% in their election. So sorry about our chickens in the background, but why I feel so passionate about it, I'm one of the only candidates that's limited my donations to $1,000 per person, and we're not taking any corporate money or any PAC money, because like Mr. Trimble said, people are tired of the bundling. Even though there are good PACs, people are tired of the bundling. And to give you an idea of how powerful it can be for union members to donate, we have 275,000 union members in Oregon. So if each of them donated a $50 donation, that's like $13 million, which could help any candidate win a governor's race. So if we set these limits with $1,000 per person, which 10 other states have done, including Kentucky, and we ban corporate money and ban PAC monies, it'll be completely people-powered elections in Oregon. And what's cool about Oregon, they do give you a tax rebate of $50 for every candidate you donate to, including even a school board candidate. And the last thing I'd like to say about it is this is the kind of systemic change. Am I gone?
Max, you're sharing your screen. Thank you.
So, regardless of who's in the governor's office, this systemic change we need in Salem, because currently you get a committee chair position, like the Speaker of the House, based on how much money you raise, not because of your seniority or because you used to be a nurse and now you're on the healthcare committee. No, it's completely because you raise big pharma money. Oregon's one of 5 states with no limits whatsoever, and that's what has to be changed in the first 100 days. And I would put together a bipartisan table, and we'd get that passed through the legislature. And that's unfortunately, after we had that great success with Measure 107, the next session in 2021, the Speaker didn't put that table together, and they didn't pass contribution limits that would affect this race today.
Thank you. Would any of the candidates like to comment on another candidate's platform? Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and move on. So the next topic is healthcare. Healthcare is a very hot topic issue nationwide. And so what would you do with healthcare if you were governor of Oregon? Michael Trimble, go ahead.
Well, that is my other huge issue. I will be expanding Oregon Health Plan to all Oregonians, regardless of income or immigration status. Like housing, healthcare is a human right. It is not a luxury or a privilege. What I want to do is also subsidize medical tourism, because there are some surgeries that are simply not cost effective being done in Oregon, but a lot of these things can be done in Mexico or other countries where they are so much cheaper. I also want to import all of our drugs from Canada. I don't know why the United States insists on paying these ridiculous pharma jacked up rates under my governorship. That ends because everybody has a right to be able to. Oh, and there's my cat photobombing. I do apologize. And so back to pharmacies. Why, if Canada can pay these super low rates, why can't America? Because I work for Care Oregon, a healthcare company, and I cannot tell you how many people I talk to where OHP denies them their medications because it's a name brand. And then unfortunately, there are some cases where generic brands do not work as well as a name brand. And so if we're able to lower the cost overall of all prescription medications, then that is exactly what is going to bring parity and equality to everybody. I want to also make sure that those with physical and mental challenges are able to participate, in physical exercise. Even though I have no arms, I do ride a bike. And in 2020, I biked 10,868 miles. I have a special adaptive bike. Fortunately, I have a job that helps me to be able to pay for it. But a lot of those with physical challenges and mental disabilities, they are on limited income. And so what I want to do is add special adaptive bikes and exercising as mobile/wheelchairs to all healthcare companies to make sure that they are covered. Because, you should not have to be locked out of being able to exercise because you can't afford the special device that you need. Because exercise is good for everybody. It's good for your health. It lowers the cost for the overall system. And so we need to start thinking more proactive of how can we bring in those who are disadvantaged into the healthcare system. So what I want to do is expand Oregon Health Plan for all. We're going to be importing all of our drugs from Canada. I will be subsidizing medical tourism to make sure that all surgeries are covered. And also we will be covering vision with OHP, because right now it's only offered to minors and pregnant women. I'm going to be offering everything. And how do we pay for this? We will obviously have to have President Biden step in and help us with this, because obviously we'll be rewriting the entire rules of Medicaid, which is right now income-based, but I want to make it available to everybody. Those with financial means will have the ability to pay a premium. And again, with OHP, it covers everything. No premiums, no deductibles, no co-pays, out-of-pocket costs, nothing like that. Unlike President Obama, I won't mandate that everybody roll into OHP, but just make sure that OHP, those that want it, have access. I will be eliminating reassessments that are very costly, and I'll also be streamlining CCOs, care coordinator organizations, to make sure that your OHP is accepted everywhere and anywhere that an OHP provider accepts OHP. So you can go anywhere in the state. Right now, it is a very, yes.
I'm very sorry.
Okay, it's okay.
Coach Jay, your turn.
Yes, thank you, Devin. My good stewardship platform includes also healthcare platform. It also includes wellness and fitness as well. My goal is to use alternative health, alternative medicine, naturopathic, and provide more opportunities for practitioners that have been isolated and alienated and blocked out by mainstream practitioners to be validated, to do more clinical work, to do more street clinics, to do more home visits and such. Give them an opportunity to have a platform because more populations at the table, inclusivity, allows us to bring down costs, to use our resources wisely, and to be an advanced system and a competitive system. Not competitive in an unhealthy way, but like a collaborative, collective competitiveness, bringing more people to the table to do what they love to do, to heal people, to help people, and to restore people. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Stearns, go ahead.
Yeah, I moved indoors, so I'm not competing with the rooster anymore. So. Yeah, like Michael Trimble said, I too am a single-payer advocate. We're a rare breed in this Democratic primary. It's surprising. But it also explains when you take big health insurance money from MODA, like Speaker Kotek does, then you can see exactly where her priorities are. And that's not with us being insured. And so I'm in favor of OHP for all because we have over 300, not over, but almost 300,000 Oregonians who have no health insurance at all whatsoever, even with Obamacare. They make too much for OHP, and then their employer doesn't cover them. So, and my wife and I know, being self-employed, how expensive it is to insure yourself with buying your own insurance. Our deductible is $13,000, and we're on the silver plan. So it's ridiculous how crazy expensive this stuff is. And what's important, I'm not going to go over all the advantages that Trimble already did about no deductible, no premiums, and things like that. But what I do want to talk about is the leverage that Oregonians will have when we have 4.2 million Oregonians on the same plan. We will be able to bring these costs down, especially the cost of insulin and other crucial things. And also what's important about OHP for all is that it's transferable. So if you work in the private sector like I do, but then I become a teacher, I would still be covered by the same insurance. And then if I went back to school and got my graduate degree, I would still be insured as a student. And I know high school students that are listening, that this is important for you when you leave home and you won't be insured. You will be in Oregon with the Oregon ID. You'll be fully insured with health care. And I know we're going to have a question about how to pay for it. And so a big percentage of our Oregon health plan right now is covered by Medicare and Medicaid, which is federal dollars. And what's important is, again, that we have the Oregon Health Fund. It's outside of the general fund because we don't want to wait through the session and get to pay for health care. So we'll have our own fund, and we'll put those federal dollars into that Oregon Health Fund, along with a corporate tax like we tried to pass with Measure 197, I believe it was, which is on the highest corporations that are profiting from Oregonians. So that money can go in. And also I'm in favor of more sin taxes. We have alcohol and tobacco sin tax, and I think we need a junk food sin tax because obesity, diabetes sin tax, because obesity, diabetes, and heart disease are from these high sodium foods, high trans fats foods, and high sweetener foods. So if we want to have Oregonians healthy, we have to all pitch in. And as Devin knows, I love my junk food, so I'll be paying my fair share to cover my triple bypass down the road. But it will also encourage folks to eat healthier and to do more things like Mr. Trimble was talking about with exercise, and Coach K was talking about a wellness program. We want to have the pressure of the sin taxes pressure us to do the right thing, and then covering all Oregonians. Because the other last thing I want to cover, why single-payer healthcare is so important, is the saving you get from preventative healthcare. If I ran out of time.
You did. I'm sorry. Would any of the candidates like to question on another candidate's platform?
Yes, Patrick, that's actually Measure 97, and I worked on that campaign. And what I would also like to do, adding to what you're saying, is actually with EBT, you can buy a lot of junk food. We need to stop letting people buy junk food with EBT. And what I want to do is enhance EBT by giving you more money if you do buy produce and vegetables, because vegetables are very expensive compared to a bag of chips.
Yeah, I'll give a counter to that. I don't really believe in banning things, but I do believe in taxing the hell out of them. So we could get that revenue for folks that insist on eating those things. And there is a pilot program of the double your money when you take it to the farm market. Because another thing we need to encourage folks to do is, I believe in victory gardens that were during World War II. We need to educate folks and get them able to grow their own food, produce their own food, because we need a sustainable Oregon, that's self-sufficient, and we can put pressure on the economy and on the Department of Agriculture in the state of Oregon to grow more food for Oregonians rather than us shipping tons of junk in from out of state. And the big corporate stores are going to fight this. That's, again, why we need campaign finance reform, because we're going to have the big stores fighting it, the big pharma, the health insurance industry, and all the for-profit parts of the scam. So it's a big battle. But once we do campaign finance reform, I think the state senators and state representatives will be free to work on the people's issues instead of those corporate special interests.
It's not that I'm banning them buying the food. I'm just saying that with EBT, you should not be able to use taxpayer dollars to subsidize a very unhealthy lifestyle.
One second.
I think Joseph has his hand up. You want to call him, Devin?
Or just go for it, Joseph. You got a question about that? There's only 3 candidates, so it's easy for us to answer your question.
Absolutely. Please, please, please ask away. The only dumb question is the one that is not asked.
Alrighty, I'm so sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so our last question on the docket is education. As you may know, that the education system in Oregon is now very devastated. What will you do to increase education in Oregon and better provide for the students and staff of Oregon schools?
Well, obviously,
Thank
you, Devin. Obviously, we have got to lower the class sizes. They are way, way too big. We have got to hire more teachers. We have got to hire more support staff, because right now the system is, trying to cram as many students in a can of anchovies. And I'm sorry, but our students aren't sardines. They are human beings. We need to invest in them and make sure that they do have everything available to them in high school. I know this is going to be unpopular, but I'm also in favor of keeping remote learning for those that want it and it works. Learning for those that want it and it works for. Some people have actually enjoyed remote learning and have actually been able to progress a lot further. But for those that do want to go back to classroom, then we definitely need to do that. I also want to offer all higher education in-state completely free. You should not go into higher education and then come out with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. When I left Duquesne University in 2009 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I had over $56,000 of debt. And for what, And so what I want to do is be able to make sure that all students can go free. And if you agree to enter the public sector, whether it be healthcare, state government, civil, then we will make sure that you can actually get an extra boost as far as housing and income to make sure you are able to live successfully. But again, student education has got to be provided for free. We're going to forgive all in-state student debt. Where am I going to get all this money from? By taxing the 1%, taxing the corporations, closing all the current loopholes. I mean, the fact that, Jeff Bezos doesn't pay any corporate taxes and he makes billions of dollars, like, what the hell? Like, we have got to close it. I also want to institute a living wage for all corporations reporting quarterly billion-dollar profits and make sure that they share the profits with their employees. So back to education, though. Free education, smaller classes, more support staff, and I think somebody else, I think it's Patrick who owns it, Wilson. Somebody wants to do year-round school. I'm definitely open to that because a lot of material is lost over the summer break. But if we can have it year-round, that will definitely be able to enhance and concrete what students have learned, and they won't forget it. And it also keeps them busy, so they're not prone to do crazy activities, commit silly crimes and whatnot. And so that is my platform on education.
All right, Coach K, go ahead.
Thank you, Devin. My Good Stewardship platform includes this as well, educational justice. I want to change the mindset from school to prison pipeline into K through 12 universities. So I would like to build K through 12 universities in the rural areas and allow students to have a 24/7, 365 days a year campus living with professionals, technology, smart technologies, and virtualization operations, everything to be globally, ally as well as competitive in their skills. This is the direction I'm interested in pushing Oregon as a pioneer if given the opportunity, because sometimes futuristic ideas get removed, not being included because they won't see it as mathematical. But I've done my calculations and it can be done. We just need a paradigm shift of mindset and be willing to leave the school to prison pipeline. Thank you.
No problem. Patrick starts.
I'm the only governor candidate out of the 35, including the Republican Party, who's served on school boards for over 10 years. I've been elected several times, really small school districts and bigger ones. And so what I learned was that there's this sucking sound going of money leaving the classroom every year going to for-private health insurance. And that's when I became a big fan and advocate for single-payer health care. So this ties it together because it's like 20% of our classroom dollars are leaving. For an example, the Douglas ESD I served on, which provides all the special needs for the whole county of Douglas County, we had 100 employees. That's $1 million a year that's not in those classrooms. So this is going to help our universities. It's going to help our rural schools, and we can have more teaching assistants, like Mr. Trimble said. We can have smaller classroom sizes. We can do more for our teachers if we have this revenue not going to private health insurance companies. So it'll also help cities and county governments, and imagine the hundreds of state employees. So it'll bring costs down across the board in the public sector by having OHP for all. So that's why these things are sort of tied together, like we were talking about with transportation and poverty. Also, healthcare costs and education. So having that school board experience makes it important. And I think it should be required for everyone that goes to Salem, state senators, state representatives, and the governor, to have served time on school boards, which is a volunteer position, which are also under attack by the bullies. So we need to push back on those attacks. And just in closing, I would say it's important to remember that only 12% of our high school students graduate to go to university. So we also need to make sure we have a really good funding for job training in our schools and do more. I know Measure 98 was the one that just finally brought some of those dollars back. So as a cabinet maker and a history major, I would work hard to support our universities and our vocational schools. And we need to focus on entrepreneurship, teaching our students to become their own businesses and stuff like that. I'm sure I'm running out of time. Thank you. And great high school student question is getting ready for college. You need to have that covered.
Thank you. So we had a few high school students who were at the debate on Monday, and one thing they noticed, Michael Trimble, this question's for you. You mentioned essentially starting a coup to remove Mark Shaw from office. Can you reiterate that?
You mean Ted Wheeler?
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Yes. Ted Wheeler actually violated a lot of Portland's own city ordinances when he contributed $150,000 of his own money to the campaign, which is against their financial limits. And so what I want to do is have the state attorney general actually investigate him and possibly prosecute him and remove him from office because he has been a danger to Portland. I don't know why he went for mayor because it's only works under him. And if need be, using executive power, maybe declare him a state enemy combatant or something. But we have got to remove him from office. He is a danger. He doesn't care, and he's a threat to democracy, in my opinion. And so I will use whatever means necessary, but obviously we'll start with the Attorney General investigating him and prosecuting him to the fullest extent of the law. I'll also be pushing the City Council to impeach him or to do a vote of no confidence, whatever their mechanism for removal of him is. But I will definitely be leading the charge to make sure that he is gone and doesn't serve a day longer on the City Council as mayor. I don't know if that answers the question.
Would any candidate like to comment on?
Yeah, Devin, I'd like to point out that both Portland and Multnomah County have been huge leaders in campaign finance reform, which Mr. Trimble is saying that the mayor has violated those campaign finance rules. I don't think we need a coup, but you can certainly make sure those laws have teeth that will really affect anybody that violates campaign finance reform laws. To put it in perspective, both Portland and Multnomah County passed those campaign limits in their city and their county races with almost 90%. So it was really out even more than the state initiative. So I'm excited to see this go, not just statewide having limits, but all 36 counties having limits. Because, a lot of rural counties have big timber money dominating their politics. And that's where we need to have these limits on the county level. Or in different cities, you have big developer dollars or realtor dollars dominating the city issues. And so each city, each county, and the state should have these campaign finance reform laws. And they should have teeth that make violators feel it.
But that's the problem, though, Patrick. These laws don't have teeth because nobody's going after Ted Wheeler for violating not just Portland's finance. I completely forgot to include Multnomah County's finances. And so if the DA isn't going to do the job, then I will use the power of the state to do the job for them because Ted Wheeler is a danger to Portland and democracy, and we cannot have people just, flagrantly flaunting the laws. And I don't know why the city hasn't gone after Ted Wheeler, but they have no appetite for it. So I will do what the city wants to.
Coach Kay, would you like to comment on that?
Thank you, Devin. I just wanted to say that I'm going in a different direction when it comes to leadership style. My leadership style is a transformative leadership style, which means that I'm interested in empowering and building an empowerment culture for Oregon, building a Maslow principle model for assessments and rubrics and evaluations, and creating a transparency system, given to the communities, giving them the authority to do what legislation is doing, giving them the authority to put the government in check. I would like to build this type of system because I feel that the stakeholders is the voters, and they have every right to be the board directors, to be the CEOs of Oregon, to build Oregon as they see fit. So I would like to put that power in their hands to make those hiring and firing calls. Thank you.
I'd like to add, I totally support that empowerment model, and I'm glad you brought up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because there's so many people that are suffering at these lower levels of basic needs that they're so far from being empowered. They're so far from donating their little $50 to a campaign. A big portion of my supporters are in that group. They're on Social Security. They're disabled. They're not able to donate to a campaign, but they're able to volunteer, some of them. And so I totally support that empowerment model. And we have to do it. And this is not an urban-rural divide. This is not a Republican or Democrat, young or old divide. This kind of empowerment has to happen. But as long as we have million-dollar campaigns and billionaires like Phil Knight donating millions of dollars to our in 2018, some of my donors stopped donating their $25 because there's just too much big money. And so I'm so excited to set those limits in the first 100 days, because it's embarrassing that Oregon's one of 5 states with Mississippi with no limits whatsoever. So, amen, Coach K, on empowerment.
Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and move to public questions. I'm going to ask that you raise your hand, and I will call on you, and then you can go ahead and ask the question. I see Max has his hand up, so Max, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, I'm just new to all this, so I'm just trying out different little things here. So didn't have anything prepared specifically, but I wanted to just reinforce what I was hearing about working with people and finding the value that is present but not being acknowledged. Because I feel like that's where a huge part of it is. That's why I want to kind of focus on, making this kind of thing more accessible to more people and stuff like that. So I love what you guys are saying, and I just want to hear more. So thanks.
Devin, can I give it a go?
Go ahead.
Yeah. This is a Zoom meeting. Folks have to have pretty good Wi-Fi, and there are communities that don't. So this again is an assumed luxury that we assume we have, or you have the equipment, the computer, the cell phone to do this. And so these are the common tools that all Oregonians need. And the broadband, rural broadband is especially, when I was on a rural school district, it was so bad that each classroom had to take turns taking the state test. Okay, 3rd grade, it's your turn. Okay, 4th grade, it was, so especially when you campaign in the big metro area where they just have all this fancy stuff, they have no idea how tough it is in some of these rural parts of our state. Not just, I was focusing on technology and communications, because we all need an on-ramp to the information highway, and that's part of the 21st century. So I support what you're asking about, Max.
And to build on what you just said, Patrick, Devin, I actually do support broadband for all. I also want to break up the Comcast monopolies, where you can only have one provider in an area, and that does not encourage actual competition. Like I would love to get Verizon Fios or Frontier Fios, but I can't get it because Comcast is the only provider in most of downtown Portland. Now, I know that's not a huge word for most people about, single providers only, but we have got to break up these monopolies to make sure that competition is actually fair and free. We need broadband for all, and we need to really tackle it down. Obviously, this is going to take years to implement, but somebody who's actually after broadband for all to make sure everybody does have access to high-speed internet. There are actually countries in Europe where high-speed internet is a constitutional right. And yet America, supposedly the greatest country in the world, and like Patrick just said, people struggle just to connect to online. It's unacceptable and unforgivable.
Can I piggyback on that, Devin? Our state treasurer refuses to divest from the fossil fuel industry with our public dollars.
Yes.
Why can't we invest in Oregonians' broadband, like Mr. Trimble's saying, or other Oregonian issues? So if we want to get away from fossil fuels and get our economy to be more decentralized, broadband is a powerful way to do that. So people can work from home and they can have their own businesses at home. Like I said earlier, entrepreneurship should be encouraged. And so those are the investments Oregonians need to make, not fossil fuels.
And I've actually spoken to a few students. Sorry, Devin.
Patrick, for the record, can you state who the treasurer is for Oregon? I'm sorry, you're muted.
It's one of my big money opponents, Tobias Reed, who's also taking big money from the timber industry,
Yes.
which is completely inappropriate for a Democratic candidate to be taking that big timber money.
Okay. And then Michael, go ahead, and then we're going to let Coach K answer this question.
Right, and let's not forget, he has invested $140 billion of our tax money, and I've actually spoken to a few students who have amazing ideas, but they don't have any money to do it, and so if we can use some of the money, like Patrick said, to divest Oregon and use that resources, we can have a lot of Oregon-based companies that provide internet to all. I forget what the name of it was in California, but yes.
Coach K, would you like to comment?
Yes, thank you, Devin. I appreciate, Max, you're taking the time to share your thoughts. I think that inclusivity models is very important in the 21st century. We're moving into the unknown and uncertainty. So with that said, what we are working with now, our legislation system and our executive system and judicial system, is outdated. I'm trying to be politically correct. I think we need to build anew. I keep saying this, but I think that the way to start it is with Maslow principles, build actualization systems, transformative systems, and adaptive systems that can adjust to our needs as we grow and build quality of life. The reason why I talk in this type of context is because we have to be visionaries and creative and be able to use all the resources through people, talents and skills, and knowing their abilities to change the world. And we're not doing that. So I will be focusing more on empowering people from ground up, using all the resources that's given to change staff, to change the hands, so that more communities can sit at the table, negotiate, close deals, and change the game. Thank you.
All righty, Tori, go ahead. Tori, do you have a question?
Yes, sorry, it took me a minute to find my spot there. I have a couple of questions. I'm really liking what all of you are saying, and in particular, I'm really liking what you're saying, Coach K. And I'm wondering if you have a website or someplace where I can find you besides here, because I'm not seeing you in the my pamphlet, my election pamphlet. So that's one question.
Devin, may I speak or do I need to wait?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I am very thankful for this opportunity to speak with you today, Tori. And I have been alienated out of the system for whatever reason. They have a lot of requirements, a lot of high, we call it eligibilities to be on the platform so the voters can know that you're available. So you're correct. There's a lot of platforms I'm not on based on these freedoms that have been allotted to them. So with that said, I'm happy you was able to hear my platform today. I thank Devin for this opportunity. And you can find me on my website. I hope Devin provides it. If Devin do not have it, I can put it in the chat for you all. And yes, absolutely. And my goal is to just get the vision out there first. And if the voters support that vision, we work together to implement it. I know there's a lot of what we call the rhetoric around all of the requirements to be government or governor, but I do believe that the people have been talented, skillful, and have carried this country, and Oregon has carried this country as well for many years. So they should be able to be leaders in their own state and be productive and high performance equally, if not take over the government as stakeholders. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I do have a website, Tori. I just posted in the chat, trimbleforgov.com, and I am in the voter preference filing, but it should be noted that the state of Oregon, rather the Secretary of State, required a $3,000 fee for only 325 words. Yes. As governor, I will be ending that electioneering, gerrymandering, political racketeering. It's just makes me so angry. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had to pay $100 to file to run for governor, and I thought that included being on the voter preference filing, but no, you have to pay $3,000, 325 words, that's the maximum. It is the whole thing. I mean, I can see how a lot of Trump supporters felt the election was stolen from them because it is very much rigged, you know. Unfortunately, I had to actually spend my own money to pay for the voter preference filing, and that's really the only chance I'm going to have to be able to get in front of the voters since I don't have the money for TV ads, for radio ads. And I think it's really funny that, well, not funny, but kind of sad, that Tina Kotek, she actually filed to run for governor submitting a paper form. I filed it online. I am a man of my person, and I will keep my word. And she could have done it online, but no, she wasted a tree in trying to file for governor. It's just inexcusable.
Okay.
It really is.
Well, that leads me to the question I wanted to ask. I'm just wondering, like I've noticed since I moved up here to Oregon about 4 years ago, and I've noticed how many trees are being clear cut all around me. I'm in the western part of the state on the coast, and I've seen a lot of clear cutting, and it's extremely disturbing considering what's happening with climate change and how we really need our mature trees. It takes many, many years to get it to that level where it's going to be helping us to the degree it does with climate. And just replacing them with saplings, I just want to finish my, thanks, Patrick, but I'll just finish. What I've been told is that this clear cutting, it's being replaced with saplings, monoculture farms of little trees that are going to take forever and not have the diversity. And a lot of it is bought off by foreign corporations, and they're basically stealing our resources. And it's the most upsetting thing here. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I think need to be worked on. Like the homeless and other things that are big. But this is so huge. So I'm just wondering if any of you have a plan of what can be done, a realistic plan of what can be done to change that.
Oh my goodness, absolutely, Tori. Not only is this infuriating, but it is downright criminal. And I will end logging on day one. Obviously, I'll need the legislature to pass the law, but we will end logging and we will start repopulating our forests, planting these little saplings. It's a joke. I know some say no, something is better than nothing, but no. We need to restore our forests, and we need to stop logging. There's no reason why we need to cut a tree down. There are so many alternative resources. I mean, there's hemp. There's so many that there's no reason to be cutting trees down. And what I want to do is make sure that corporations don't have access to our lands. Our lands are our lands, not theirs, and they need to stop profiting from our lands.
Well, I agree with you, and that much money it's really hard to get to a place where you can just change the laws to stop the logging. So I was wondering if there's like a realistic plan of working with loggers instead of making them the enemy somehow to realistically to change so that people are not scared and it's not divisive,
No, I
Something
understand.
realistic.
No, I
So
completely understand.
Patrick, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier by raising my hand. I just was excited to answer your
Yeah,
question.
that's okay.
And I want to answer both your earlier question about, and then Coach K brought it up. It's called the money primary, and the money primary happens before any candidates even file to vote. They look at their neighbors, they look at their family, they look at their community, and they say, can we even do this? Is this even so we need to have these campaign finance reform rules to help people that do have good ideas like Coach K, that do have a vision and get into the voters now. So that's the first part. But
Thank you.
yeah, I'm one of the only candidates that was an environmentalist in the Umpqua, which is just east of where you live on the south coast, sounds like. And so I worked for over 10 years fighting the old growth logging on the Umpqua National Forest and the Roseburg Bureau of Land Management. We fought against the LNG pipeline and the sale of the Elliott Forest. So I have that years of experience of fighting for those carbon storage things and working with the timber industry at the same time, doing the work for the salmon restoration on the Watershed Council. So your question about how can we make this work together is important because we don't want to alienate our rural neighbors. We want them at the table. We want to work together with these shared solutions so that we don't have the constant divisiveness and timber unity and all those other things. So I have that experience as a rural Democrat working on these natural resource issues, so I hope you do explore what I'm talking about because we have so much work to do together. But I bring it back, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, to campaign finance reform because there's no limits in the timber industry dominating what happens in Salem. We're gonna suffer over and over. We want to fight aerial spraying of the toxic chemicals, which are banned in Europe. We want to reduce the export of our raw logs. Those are jobs that are being shipped out of Coos Bay, those raw logs. So we can have an excise tax that will help timber-dependent communities. We need to have a higher severance tax. All three of our neighbors, Idaho, California, and Washington, have a higher severance tax, which brings money to those timber-dependent communities. And I don't know if you were here at the beginning when we were talking about the Oregon Conservation Corps, which is Senate Bill 762 you want to look at. It was passed by the senator from Southern Oregon out of Ashland with the timber industry support, but they didn't fund it. See, so that's why we have to have the severance tax and the excise tax, because the Oregon Conservation Corps will put workers in your forest near you that will help to build our fire resilience, because we have so many young trees next to our big old growth trees, and when those young trees burn really hot, it sadly takes it into the old growth forest, which old growth forests are pretty fire resilient if they're open.
We really need to draw on native wisdom because they were managing the forest before, and we need to tap into that somehow,
good question. Thanks for coming on and asking.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate everything that you said you're doing, Patrick. And it's reassuring. And I know there's a lot more that needs to be done because I'm seeing those trucks go by with all the trees on a regular basis. So, yeah, I'm appreciating what you've done.
Thank you. Yeah, when I was a kid, we called it a one tree load. The trees were so big, there would be one tree and one truck.
I've heard.
Luckily, we stopped a lot of the old growth clear cutting, but there's so much more we can do with sustainable thinning, and even as a cabinet maker, doing more with our wood products. You know, we make 2x4s and plywood.
Yeah.
Let's make finished products because those are high-paying manufacturing jobs, and these old mill sites across the state are perfect infrastructure for us to be doing more with our wood products.
Yeah, to go back to what we were doing before with the craftsmanship with Oregon, woodworkers.
And building housing, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
We're the timber capital of the world, and we don't have enough housing.
I know, and keeping the resources here where it's helping our economy here in Oregon, not economy in another country.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, Tori, I do want to work with the timber industry, but historically, they have...
Michael, but we need to let Coach K have a turn answering this question.
I do apologize.
Thank you. Thank you, Devin. And thank you, Michael. I wanted to speak on the timber industry because the forestry management, I believe in a lot of their inclusivity models when it comes to good stewardship. My good stewardship platform is an action plan, of course, and a vision, futuristic vision for Oregon. The way I would like to implement it is through the urban and park rangers Peace Corps that I would like to build and give the Oregonians, which is 99.9% of the stakeholders in Oregon. A lot of states don't have that opportunity where small businesses and the working class as well as the population is really in control of the state. A lot of times we get pushed out of our own power because we forget that we have self-defense. Self-defense, very crucial. I don't mean violence. I mean self-defense, self-actualization, self-autonomy, building in our communities, which means building a different government. And so when we do group actualization systems, we are more powerful together than divided. And so that is my goal as the opportunity arises to build those new actualization systems that we can come together and have a platform to do more work, meaning saving our environment, becoming more green, and having the opportunities to sit at the table with the 1% industries that have the pressure, do not have the self-defense, to know that they have people that care, that have this discipline and the decision-making power to do something. They make decisions. That's my goal. That was long-winded. Thank you.
No, I really love the way you think, Coach K. It's really inspiring. And I'm hoping that I see you on the ballot.
Well, thank you, Tori.
She will be on the ballot, even though she's not on the voters' count.
So okay. I guess I misunderstood. I thought it would be taking more to get her on. Okay, good.
I'm assuming she paid the $100 filing fee because she's a certified qualified candidate. So.
Yes. Thank you, Patrick.
Rick,
Thank you.
The Oregon Forest Practices Act is what we're talking about, and what I've seen from when I was a kid was less ma and pa forests and more Wall Street forests, like warehouses.
Yes.
Triple harvests in one old cycle. See, when I was a kid, they'd let the trees get to be 80 years before they did these harvests. Now they're getting 3 harvests, every 30 years. So that's 90 years. They're getting. So we have to have these limits set on who can own the forest. Are they Oregonians? Or are they just corporations, which are not people? Are they doing too many harvests? Because the big fear of with too many harvests are soil and water retention. Because you're going to have
clear cut around me. It's just clear cut. There is no discernment at all. It's
you're going to have electrification and water table lowering.
Yeah.
We can fix these laws, but I'm sorry to say, we have to get big money out of politics, or they.
And I hope we can fix them in time before everything's gone. Yeah. Okay, I hear you. Is the bottom line is we got to get big money out of politics. Right.
Well, everyone, I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to cut the debate a little short. I forgot my computer charger, and it is at 4%. So I'm going to ask each candidate to give their closing statement for 2 minutes, a maximum of 2 minutes, and then I'll do a real catch-up thing. Michael Trimble, you go first.
Yes, thank you, Devin, for moderating this debate. Really appreciate it. Thank you, students, for all the amazing questions. It's so promising to know that there are students coming behind us that are really looking out for the economy, the environment, the world, and I've got great faith. And what I want to do is be able to help people like you come up to be able to have free, affordable health care by expanding Oregon Health Fund to all, regardless of income or immigration status. Because I know there are a lot of DACA students who are also, in a limbo, and I want to be able to help them. I want to make sure that you can actually afford your housing, and so we're going to be lowering rent. I'm the only candidate, like Patrick said, who's actually been tackling rent control. I want to be canceling all these ridiculous rent increases that have been passed down. We have not been able to recover from COVID-19, yet landlords are expected to get their money. That's not right, not at all. And so what I want to do is be very progressive. I want to make sure that we are protecting the environment by making sure that biking is elevated and just making sure that Oregon is a state that everybody can participate in. I want to make sure that people aren't buying homes and lands like corporations. I want to make sure that Oregon is owned and run by Oregonians. Please visit my website, trimbleforgovernor.com, and I would appreciate your vote this May 17th. Thank you again for having us.
Coach Kay, go ahead and give your closing statement.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you for inviting me to this debate. Thank you, everyone that participated and showed up. That's what it's going to take, is everyone showing up. I would like to state my stewardship platform campaign is on my website, as well as the conversations I've had. You can find it online. The biggest thing I would like to leave today is that the voters should know about me is that I am not focused on policy change because it eats up time. And it's going to not, how can I say this politically correct? I want to value time. I want to have a paradigm shift. And so I'm going to focus on empowerment culture, getting the people empowered to be powerful, giving them authority to make the changes, because this government will pass away. Because the new people come to the table, future leaders like yourself, will change the future if you have a paradigm shift. If you don't break the cycle, you repeat. And so my focus is breaking the cycle. The policies, it's going to take too long to get everybody on board to change. And so I'm focused on building new systems and getting more people at the table to do different things to make a change, like indigenous populations, people from high school populations, and bringing them as stakeholders and voters and getting them authority to do so. Thank you.
Did you say your website, Coach K?
Yes, I put it in the show. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Michael Trimble, go ahead. Oh, wait. Sorry. Did you already go? I can't remember.
I did, but I can go again. You don't have to tell me twice.
I just put in my email for those that didn't get to ask questions, or my cell phone number. You can text me your question or call. I answer my own cell phone and I answer my own emails. So if you didn't get a chance to ask questions, but I do want to thank Devin and all the high school students that have put this together, because it's so crucial that we look into the future rather than just always into the past. And in closing, I just want to say, if we want a systemic change, it does start with all of us. And if we don't do the small donations, which I've been advocating for this whole time, it creates a vacuum. If the people don't show up, the corporations and the special interests will show up with big dollars. So when you hear us talk about small donors, we're talking about you. So if you can donate to any of the three of us, your small donation, any amount is huge, because it helps us travel this huge state, all 36 counties. It can help you get the flyers to door to door. It's just a big job, and we're all up to it. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to us, and all your support, if you're a supporter. So, and good questions. Thanks.
Patrick, I don't see your contact information. I just looked in the chat.
I thought I put it. I'll try again.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate all the candidates who were able to get out here and showed up. I really appreciate everyone who came to watch and ask questions. I'm sorry that not everyone's questions were able to get to. Next time I'll definitely bring my charger. So the Oregon High School Democrats of Precinct 759, we have recorded the audio of this meeting. Unfortunately, we couldn't record the actual meeting itself because we had no clue how. So I'm sorry about that, but we have recorded the audio. We will be reviewing the audio, and once we review the audio, all 75 of our members will be voting on which candidate we would like to endorse, who showed up to the debate, and whoever we endorse, we'll email. We'll also email you if you didn't get our endorsement. And I really appreciate everyone. Again, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Yes, not every day you see a foot in the air like it doesn't care.